June yawned as his cargo ship, the Star Runner drifted through the quiet darkness of space. Stars twinkled outside his viewport like distant dreams. He was tired. This supply run to the outer colonies was his third this month, and the emptiness of space was starting to wear on him. "Coffee?" asked the ship's AI. Mina. "Yes, please," Jun said, rubbing his eyes. The small machine in the corner of the cockpit buzzed to life, filling the air with the rich smell of fresh coffee. Jun was 30 years old, with short black hair and strong hands that had worked on ships since he was 16. He wasn't rich or famous. He was just a man who loved space and the freedom it gave him. He took a sip of his coffee and checked the ship's course. Still 13 hours until he reached Colony 5 with his cargo of medical supplies and farming equipment. Maybe he could take a short nap. Just as he was about to set the autopilot, a soft beeping sound came from the communication panel. "Mina, what's that?" June asked, sitting up straight. "I'm picking up a distress signal, June," Mina replied. "It's very weak. Coming from Sector 47B. June frowned. Sector 47B wasn't on any regular flight paths. It was empty space as far as he knew. "Put it through," he said. The speakers crackled with static before a voice broke through. The words were strange, unlike any language June had heard before. But the fear in the voice was clear. "Can you locate the source?" June asked. "Yes," Mina said. "It's coming from a small vessel about 2 hours from our position. But June, company protocol says we should report this to Central Command and continue our delivery." June drummed his fingers on the control panel. He knew the rules. Don't deviate from course. Don't risk the cargo. Don't engage with unknown vessels. But someone needed help. "Plot a course to the signal," he said firmly. "June, I must remind you that someone's in trouble, Mina. We can't just ignore that." The AI fell silent for a moment. "Course plotted. We will reach the signal in 1 hour and 53 minutes. June adjusted their heading and pushed the engines harder. As they flew, he prepared the medical bay and checked the ship's defense systems. He wasn't expecting trouble, but in the empty regions of space, it was better to be safe. Time passed slowly. June paced the cockpit, wondering what he would find. Pirates. A crashed ship. Survivors. "Approaching signal source," Mina announced. "Visual contact in 3, 2, 1. The ship's front screens lit up, showing a small vessel drifting in space. It was unlike any ship June had seen before. The design was smooth and curved, almost like a leaf floating in water. But one side was badly damaged, with metal torn open to the vacuum of space. "Life signs?" June asked, his heart beating faster. "One life form detected," Mina replied. "Very weak." June guided the Star Runner closer. "Can we dock?" "Yes." The ship's dock appears undamaged. With careful movements, June aligned his ship with the strange vessel. The docking systems connected with a soft thud that echoed through the hull. "Atmosphere?" he asked, reaching for his spacesuit. "The ship still has oxygen, but levels are dropping," Mina reported. "You have approximately 20 minutes before it's gone." June put on his suit anyway. Better safe than sorry. He packed a medical kit and a universal translator. His hands were steady, but his mind raced with questions. Who would be out here, so far from any known routes? What happened to their ship? "I'm going in," he said, heading for the airlock. "Keep the engines ready, just in case." "Be careful, June," Mina said. Was there concern in the AI's voice? June smiled slightly. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dark corridor in the alien ship. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting strange shadows. June switched on his helmet light and stepped forward into the unknown. He was about to discover something that would change his life forever. June moved carefully through the dark hallway of the strange ship. His light swept across walls that seemed to shine with a soft glow even when damaged. The air was thin but breathable. "Mina, "Are you still reading the life sign?" June asked through his helmet comm. "Yes," his ship's eye answered. "It's coming from what appears to be the control room, ahead and to your right." June followed the directions, stepping over broken pieces of equipment. Something had hit the ship hard. At the end of the hall, a door was stuck half open. He pushed it with his shoulder, and it moved with a groan of metal. The control room was a mess. Screens were cracked, and sparks jumped from exposed wires. But what caught June's attention was the figure slumped in a chair at the main console. It was clearly not human. The being had a slender form and was wearing what looked like a fitted silver suit. Its skin had a soft blue glow under the emergency lights. When June moved closer, he saw that the alien had a face similar to a human's, but with larger eyes and small ridges where eyebrows would be. It was a female, he thought, though he couldn't be sure. And she was hurt. The dark liquid that might be blood was seeping from a cut on her forehead, and her breathing was shallow. "Hey," June said softly, knowing she probably wouldn't understand. "I'm here to help." The alien's eyes fluttered open at his voice. They were deep purple, like the night sky just after sunset. She stared at him with fear and tried to move away, but winced in pain. "It's okay," June said, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "Your ship is damaged. You need help." She spoke words he couldn't understand, her voice musical but weak. Then she pointed to a small device on her wrist, tapped it, and spoke again. This time, a robotic voice came from the device. "Who? You?" "A translator." June felt a surge of hope. "I'm June. Human. I heard your distress call." The alien woman seemed to consider this. Then she touched her chest. "Nary." Her translator crackled. "Ship attacked. Others gone." June nodded. "We need to get you out of here. Your ship is losing air." As if to prove his point, the lights flickered and more alarms began to sound. The ship groaned around them. "Can you walk?" June asked. Neri tried to stand but fell back with a cry of pain. June quickly checked and saw that her leg was badly injured. "Mina," he called. "I found a survivor. Female alien, injured. I'm bringing her back now." "Understood," Mina replied. "Medical bay is prepared." June turned to Neri. "I need to carry you to my ship. Is that okay?" Neri hesitated, then nodded. Before June could move, she pressed some buttons on the console, and a small sphere floated up, glowing softly. "Data," she explained. "Important." June helped her take the sphere, then carefully lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, almost as if her bones were hollow. "Hold on," he said. The ship shuddered as they made their way back to the airlock. Parts of the ceiling were coming down now. They had minutes, maybe less. June moved as fast as he could with Neri in his arms. Her breathing was getting weaker, and the glow of her skin seemed to be fading. "Stay with me," he urged. "We're almost there." When they reached the airlock, Mina had it open and waiting. June carried Neri through and the door sealed behind them, just as a loud explosion rocked the alien vessel. "Disconnect now," June shouted. The Star Runner pulled away quickly. Through the viewport, they watched as Neri's ship broke apart, pieces scattering into the emptiness of space. June looked down at the alien woman in his arms. Her eyes were closed, but she was still breathing. "Let's get you to the medical bay," he said gently, though he wasn't sure what he could do for an alien he knew nothing about. As he carried her through his ship, Neri opened her eyes again and looked at him. Her hand touched his chest weakly. "Thank you," her translator said. Then her eyes closed again. June felt something strange in his chest. A connection. A feeling he couldn't name. Whatever happened next, his life had just changed forever. 3 days had passed since June rescued Neri from her dying ship. She lay on the medical bed in his cargo ship, her blue skin now glowing with a healthier light. The ship's medical system had helped stop her bleeding, but it wasn't designed for alien biology. June sat beside her, watching as her chest rose and fell with each breath. Her eyes opened, those deep purple orbs looking around the room before settling on him. "How do you feel?" June asked. Nari touched the translator on her wrist. It made some strange sounds before saying in its robotic voice, "Better. Painless." June smiled. "Good. I was worried." Over the past days, they had been working on communication. Nari's translator was helping, but it didn't know many human words. And June had connected it to Mina's systems to help it learn faster. "Your ship," Nari said. "We're going. We're headed to Colony 5, June explained, speaking slowly. "I need to deliver my cargo. But first, we can try to find your people. Do you have a home world?" Nari nodded. "Wah. Far from here." She made a gesture with her hands, spreading them wide. "Many stars away." She reached for the data sphere she had saved from her ship. It glowed softly as she touched it. Images appeared in the air above it, star maps, strange symbols, and pictures of beings that looked like her. "My people," she said. "Wah. We study life." She pointed to herself. "I study other beings, other worlds." "You're a scientist?" June asked. Nari nodded. "Yes. Look for new life." "New." She seemed frustrated by the lack of words. "New species," June suggested. "Yes. New species." Her translator seemed to be learning quickly. "Ship attacked by bad humans. They want our..." She pointed to her head, then made gestures with her hands like she was building something. "Your knowledge. Your research," June guessed. "Yes. They want Hua knowledge. Hua Ken." She touched a small cut on her arm that was already healing. "Make body fix faster." June nodded with understanding. "You have advanced healing technology." "Not technology," Nari corrected. "Natural. Hua body's different." This explained why she was recovering so quickly. June was amazed. If the Hua could naturally heal faster than humans, their biology would be very valuable to certain people, especially those who didn't care how they got it. "The people who attacked you," June said. "Do you know who they were?" Nari's face darkened. "Black Star Company. They hunt Hua for many years." June had heard of Black Star. They were a shady biotech corporation that operated on the edges of human space. They had a bad reputation even among other companies. "Mina," June called out. "Set course for the nearest Interstellar Alliance outpost. We need to report this attack." "Course set," Mina replied. "Arrival in 2 days." Nari looked confused. "Alliance. A group of different species working together," June explained. "Humans are part of it. I don't know if your people are, but the Alliance can help protect you and maybe contact your world." Nari nodded slowly. Then she reached out and touched June's hand. Her skin was warm and felt smooth, almost like silk. "Thank you," she said. "You risk for me." "Why?" June hadn't really thought about it until now. Why had he risked his ship, his cargo, and his life for a distress call from an unknown source? "It was the right thing to do," he said simply. "I couldn't just leave someone to die." Nari's eyes seemed to shine brighter. She squeezed his hand gently. "Humans strange," she said. "My people say humans dangerous, violent. But you..." She paused, searching for the right word. "You kind." June felt his face grow warm. "Not all humans are the same," he said. "Just like I'm sure not all Hua are the same." Nari nodded. "Need learn more." "About humans. About you." As they sat together, the stars outside the viewport continued their silent dance. Two beings from different worlds, trying to bridge the vast distance between their kinds with simple words and gestures. It would not be easy, but each small understanding felt like a victory against the emptiness of space. June was checking the ship's navigation system when the alarm started blaring. "Mina, what's happening?" he asked, jumping up from his seat. "Ship detected," Minna replied, coming up fast behind us. They are not responding to standard identification requests. June felt his heart beat faster. Show me. The screen lit up, showing a black ship with sharp edges moving toward them. It was 3 times bigger than the Star Runner and clearly built for speed and fighting, not cargo. Black Star, June whispered. The door slid open, and Neri stood there, leaning against the wall for support. Her leg was better, but still weak. They found us, she said. Her translator was working much better now. The ones who attacked my ship. How did they find us? June asked, helping her to a seat. The data sphere, Neri said with a sad look. It sends signals. I did not know. June didn't blame her. She was just trying to save her research. Minna, can we outrun them? June asked. Negative, Minna replied. Their ship is faster. They will catch us in 30 minutes. June thought quickly. Running wasn't an option. Fighting wasn't possible. His cargo ship had no weapons. They needed to hide. The asteroid field, he said suddenly. The one we passed yesterday. How far? 20 minutes at maximum speed, Minna answered. Set course. Full power to engines. The Star Runner changed direction, pushing its engines harder than they were built for. The ship shook and groaned. They're changing course too, Minna reported. Still following. Neri stood up and moved to the control panel. May I? She asked. June nodded, not sure what she was planning. Neri's fingers moved quickly over the controls. My people know how to combine biology with machines, she explained. I can help your engines work better for a short time. The ship's systems flickered, then hummed with new energy. The engines sounded different, smoother, stronger. What did you do? June asked, amazed. Temporary fix, Neri said. Like medicine for your ship. Minna spoke up. Engine efficiency increased by 30%. New arrival time at asteroid field. 13 minutes. They raced toward the field of floating rocks that spread across space like a giant cloud. The black starship was still behind them, but hadn't gained more ground. When they reached the edge of the field, June took manual control. He guided the Star Runner between asteroids, some as small as his fist, others as big as small moons. They're entering the field, Minna announced, still following. June smiled. Good. Their big ship will have a harder time in here. He flew deeper into the field, using the asteroids for cover. The black starship was faster in open space, but here, size was a disadvantage. There, June said, pointing to a large asteroid with a crater on one side. We can hide there and power down. He guided the ship into the crater, which was just big enough to hold them. Then he shut down all systems except basic life support. Now we wait, he whispered. The ship was dark and quiet. June and Neri sat close together, watching through a small viewport as the black starship moved slowly through the asteroid field, searching for them. What if they find us? Neri asked softly. They won't, June promised, though he wasn't sure. Hours passed. The only sound was their breathing. In the darkness, Neri's skin gave off a soft blue glow. June found it beautiful. Why do they want your research so badly? He asked quietly. My people's healing ability, Neri explained. Black Star wants to sell it. Make weapons from it. Use it in ways that hurt others. June nodded. We won't let them have it. Outside, the black starship finally moved away, heading to another part of the asteroid field. Neri looked at June in the soft blue light. You still help me, even with danger. I made a choice when I answered your distress call, June said. I'm not going back on it now. Their eyes met, and something passed between them, a feeling that went beyond words or translation devices. For a moment, the vast differences between their kinds didn't seem to matter at all. June and Neri stayed hidden in the asteroid for 12 hours. The black starship circled the field twice more before finally leaving. Only then did June power up the Star Runner again. "Minna, are we clear?" June asked as the ship's systems came back online. "No ships detected within scanner range," Minna confirmed. "It appears they have given up the search for now." Nari let out a breath of relief. Her translator had been learning more words from Minna's database, making talking easier. "We should stay here a bit longer," she suggested. "They might be waiting just outside the field." June nodded in agreement. "Good idea. We have enough food and air for a few days." With nothing to do but wait, they sat in the small dining area of the ship. June made 2 cups of hot tea. Nari sniffed hers curiously before taking a small sip. "This is good," she said, her purple eyes widening with surprise. "We have something like this on Hua, but it tastes more sweet." "Tell me about Hua," June said. "What's it like?" Nari's face brightened. "Hua is beautiful. 3 moons that light up the night. Forests with trees that reach to the clouds. The trees change color with the seasons, blue in warm times, purple in cold times." "Sounds amazing," June said. "On Earth, our trees are green, then turn red, orange, and yellow in fall." "Earth," Nari repeated the word. "Your home planet. Is it far from here?" "Very far," June said. "I haven't been back in 5 years. I work the outer colonies now." "Do you miss it?" June thought for a moment. "Sometimes. I miss the oceans most. Great bodies of water that stretch as far as you can see." "We have oceans too," Nari said excitedly. "But our water is slightly pink." They talked for hours. Nari told June about how the Hua lived in harmony with their planet, how they built their homes into the living trees without harming them, how they could feel the energy of growing things. "My people believe all life is connected," she explained. "What hurts one, hurts all. What helps one, helps all." June told her about Earth's history, the good and the bad. How humans had nearly destroyed their planet before learning to care for it. How they spread to the stars, meeting other species, forming the alliance. "Humans are complicated," he said with a small laugh. "All life is complicated," Nari replied. "But humans seem to feel things very strongly. You fight hard, but you also love hard." "And the Hua don't?" June asked. "We feel differently," Nari said. "More calm. We watch. We learn. We don't rush." She reached out and touched his hand. Her blue skin against his tan skin made an interesting contrast. "But I like how humans feel things," she added softly. "How you feel things." June felt his face grow warm. They were from different worlds, different species, but sitting here in the quiet of space, those differences seemed small. Nari stood up and walked to the viewport. Stars shined like tiny jewels against the darkness. "Will your people accept me?" she asked suddenly, "when we reach the Alliance outpost?" "Yes," Jum said, joining her at the window. "The Alliance has many species working together. If the Hui aren't already members, they'll help you contact your world." "And what about you?" Nari turned to look at him. "What happens to you after you deliver me safely?" It was a question June had been asking himself. In just a few days, this alien woman had become important to him. The thought of saying goodbye made his chest feel tight. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "I still have my cargo to deliver. But maybe we'll find a way to stay in touch." Nari smiled, the glow of her skin brightening slightly. "I would like that," she said. Outside, an asteroid drifted past the viewport, spinning slowly in the emptiness of space. Inside, 2 beings from different worlds stood close together, finding unexpected connection in a vast, lonely universe. After 2 more days hiding in the asteroid field, Jum decided it was safe to leave. The Star Runner moved slowly between the floating rocks, sensors watching for any sign of the black starship. "No ships detected," Minna announced as they reached open space. Good, June said. But we can't go to the main Alliance outpost now. Black Star might be waiting there. Neri looked worried. Where will we go? June thought for a moment, then smiled. I know a place. A small colony called New Hope. My old friend Dad lives there. He changed course, heading away from the main travel routes. Neri watched him work, her purple eyes curious. This friend will help us, she asked. Dad will help, June said. He owes me from way back. And New Hope is different. Many kinds of people live there. Some hiding, some starting over. They don't ask many questions. The journey took another day. Neri spent the time learning more human words from Minna. Her translator was working better now, but she wanted to understand without it. When they finally saw New Hope, Neri pressed her face to the viewport. The colony was built into the side of a small moon. Lights glowed from windows and domes-covered gardens where food was grown. It's smaller than I expected, she said. That's why I like it, June replied. They landed at a small dock away from the main area. June helped Neri put on a human-style coat with a hood to cover her blue skin and unusual features. Just until we reach Dad's place, he explained. Then you can be yourself. They walked through narrow streets lit by soft yellow lights. People passed by, mostly humans, but Neri noticed some other beings too. No one paid them much attention. June stopped at a door with a red sign. He knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door opened, and a man with gray hair and a big smile stood there. June, he said loudly, it's been too long. Good to see you, Da, June said, hugging his friend. Day noticed Neri standing behind June. His eyes widened slightly at her hidden form, but his smile didn't fade. And who is your friend? He asked. This is Neri, June said. She needs a safe place for a while. Day nodded and stepped aside. Any friend of June's is welcome here. Inside, Day's home was warm and filled with strange objects from different worlds. Once the door was closed, Neri removed her hood, revealing her blue glowing skin and purple eyes. Day looked at her with interest, but not surprise. Au revoir, he said. I've heard of your people but never met one. You know of the Hua? Neri asked, surprised. I know a little about many things, Day said with a wink. Former Alliance explorer. Now I just run a small bar and help friends when they need it. He showed them to rooms where they could stay. Neri's room had a window that looked out at the stars. She stood there for a long time, thinking about how far she was from home. Later that night, Day took them to his bar. It was a small place with soft music and dim lights. People of different species sat at tables, talking and drinking. A woman was singing on a small stage. Her voice was beautiful, and Neri felt the music deep inside her. What is this feeling? She asked June, who sat beside her. Music, June said. Do the Hua have music? We have sounds, Neri said, but not like this. This makes me feel happy and sad at the same time. June smiled. That's what good music does. They sat together, listening. Neri tried a sweet drink that Day brought her. She watched the people around her, laughing, talking, living in peace despite their differences. I like it here, she said softly to June. We can stay a few days, he replied. Rest and plan our next move. Neri nodded, but inside she wished they could stay longer. Here in this small colony, with June beside her, she felt something new. A sense of belonging that had nothing to do with her home world. She looked at the human who had saved her life, and her heart beat a little faster. 5 days passed peacefully at New Hope. Neri learned more about humans each day. She loved trying new foods, listening to music, and watching the children play in the colony's small park. On the morning of the 6th day, June was helping Dai fix a broken cooler in the bar when the colony's alarm began to sound. Emergency alert, the voice said over speakers. Unknown ship approaching. All residents to safe areas. June and Da looked at each other. They both knew what this meant. Black Star found us, Jun said, running to find Neri. She was in the garden, helping an old woman water plants. When she heard the alarm, her blue skin paled. June, she said when she saw him. They're here. We need to get to the ship, he told her. We can still escape. Day joined them, carrying bags of supplies. Too late, he said, pointing to the sky. A large black ship was already landing near the colony. They'll be watching the docks. Then we hide, Jun said. No, Neri's voice was firm. I won't bring more danger to these people. Before June could stop her, Neri ran to the center of the colony where many people were gathering. Some looked scared, others angry. June followed her, worried about what she planned to do. The main doors of the colony opened. 6 men in black uniforms walked in, holding weapons. Their leader was tall with cold eyes and a scar across his cheek. We're looking for a HFY female, he announced. Hand her over, and we'll leave peacefully. The people of New Hope stood silent. No one moved or spoke. We know she's here, the man continued. If you don't give her to us, we'll search every home. Neri stepped forward, her blue skin glowing brighter than usual. I am here, she said. Leave these people alone. No, June moved to her side, holding her arm. The man smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. Both of you then, the human who interfered with our work. 2 of the armed men moved forward to take them. But then Dai and several other colonists stepped in front of June and Neri. This is New Hope, Dai said loudly. We don't give up our friends to bullies. The leader's face hardened. Take them all, he ordered his men. What happened next was fast and confusing. The Black Star men fired their weapons, but they used stun shots, not killing shots. They wanted Neri alive. People ran and screamed. June pulled Neri behind a large planter for cover. He looked for a way out, but they were trapped. A stun shot hit a young boy who was running for safety. He fell to the ground, not moving. Neri saw this, and her eyes filled with tears. Enough, she whispered. She stepped out from behind the planter, her hands raised. But something was different about her now. The blue glow of her skin was so bright it hurt to look at her. Stop this violence, she said to the Black Star leader. Her voice echoed strangely. The leader laughed. Or what? Neri touched the ground with one hand. Suddenly, all the plants in the colony began to grow rapidly. Vines shot up from planters, wrapping around the weapons of the Black Star men. Flowers bloomed and released clouds of golden dust that made the men cough and their eyes water. What's happening? One of them shouted. HFY bioengineering, Neri explained calmly. We understand life. We can speak to it. While the Black Star men struggled with the plants, the colonists overwhelmed them. They took their weapons and tied them up with the very vines Neri had controlled. But the leader managed to break free. He pulled out a hidden gun and aimed at Neri. June saw this and jumped in front of her just as the man fired. Pain exploded in June's chest. He fell to the ground, hearing Neri scream as if from far away. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Neri's face above his, her purple eyes filled with tears and determination. June opened his eyes slowly. White ceiling, soft beeping sounds, the smell of clean air. He was in a medical room, but not at New Hope. This place was bigger, more advanced. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. Be careful, said a familiar voice. You need to rest. Neri sat beside his bed. She looked different, wearing a silver uniform with strange symbols on the shoulders. But her blue skin still glowed softly, and her purple eyes were filled with relief when she saw him awake. Where are we? June asked, his voice rough. Alliance Central Station, Neri said. The biggest space station in this sector. June was confused. The last thing he remembered was being shot by the Black Star leader at New Hope. How did we get here? He asked. After you were hurt, Neri explained. I used Hua healing methods to keep you alive. The colonists helped capture all the Black Star men. Dag called the Alliance for help. She took his hand gently. You saved my life again, June. A door slid open, and a tall, official-looking human walked in wearing an Alliance uniform with many badges. Good to see you awake, Captain Han, the man said. I'm Admiral Park of the Alliance Security Force. June tried to sit up straighter. Sir, I can explain everything. Admiral Park held up his hand. No need. Miss Neri has told us the whole story. Black Star has been on our watch list for years. Thanks to the evidence you both provided, we shut down their entire operation. June felt relief wash over him. And the people at New Hope. Safe, the Admiral assured him. We've increased patrols in that area. He turned to Nari with a respectful nod. As for you, Miss Neri, your people have been informed of your situation. A Wo ship will arrive tomorrow to take you home. June's heart sank at these words. Of course, Neri would go home. That was always the plan. But in the short time they had spent together, he had grown to care for her more than he wanted to admit. Admiral Park left them alone again. Silence filled the room. So, June finally said, trying to sound casual, you're going home tomorrow. Nari nodded. My people have been searching for me since my ship was attacked. They are very eager to see me. I'm happy for you, June said, though his chest felt tight with more than just his wound. Neri stood and walked to the window. Outside, ships of all sizes moved around the space station like fish in a pond. My people have filed a formal complaint about my disappearance, she said. They were very angry, thinking humans had hurt me. Will you tell them what really happened? June asked. Neri turned back to him, a small smile on her face. I have already told them everything. How a human risked his life to save mine. How the people of New Hope protected me. How you, her voice softened, took a bullet for me. She came back to his side. My people have had little contact with humans. They think you are all dangerous and violent. I want to change that view. June looked into her purple eyes and saw something there that made his heart beat faster. Will I ever see you again? He asked. The doctor says you will recover in 2 weeks, Neri said. When you are better, perhaps you can visit Hua one day. The thought of saying goodbye to Nari tomorrow made June's chest ache worse than his wound. They had shared so much in such a short time, faced danger together, learned from each other, grown close in ways that went beyond their different species. I would like that, he said softly. Outside the window, a shooting star passed by, quick and bright against the blackness of space. June made a silent wish, something he hadn't done since he was a child. Some things, it seemed, were worth wishing for. The next morning, June sat in a wheelchair on the observation deck of Alliance Central Station. He was still weak, but he had insisted on being there when Neri's ship arrived. He wouldn't miss saying goodbye. The huge windows showed the blackness of space, dotted with stars. Neri stood beside him, wearing formal Hua clothing, a flowing silver dress with patterns that seemed to move like water. Your ship will be here soon, June said, checking the time. Neri nodded. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked sad. Yes, the Hua Council is sending our best ship. They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. So many things to say, but neither knew how to begin. Finally, June spoke. I have something for you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object, a simple metal chain with a blue stone hanging from it. It's a piece of earth, he explained, a stone called turquoise. My mother gave it to me for safe travels. Now I want you to have it. Neri took it carefully, her blue fingers touching the stone. It's beautiful, she said. It's almost the color of my skin. That's why I thought of you when I saw it, June said. Neri reached into a pocket in her dress and pulled out a small glowing seed. And this is for you, she said. A seed from Hua. If you plant it in soil and speak to it each day, it will grow no matter where you are. It will remind you of me. June took the seed. It felt warm in his hand, almost like it had a tiny heartbeat. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. An announcement came over the station speakers. "Attention. WAD diplomatic vessel arriving at Dock 12. "That's them," Neri said softly. June felt his heart sink. This was it. After all they had been through together, they were about to say goodbye. They moved to Dock 12, where a crowd had gathered to see the rare HFY ship. It was beautiful, shaped like a leaf, similar to Neri's old ship, but much larger and gleaming silver under the dock lights. The ship's door opened, and 3 HFY stepped out. They looked like Neri, blue skin, purple eyes, tall and graceful. They wore elaborate silver clothes with symbols of rank. Neri stepped forward to meet them. They spoke in the musical HFY language. June couldn't understand, but he could tell they were happy to see her. One of them, an older female, touched Neri's face with gentle fingers. Then, to June's surprise, Neri turned and gestured for him to come closer. "June," she said, "this is Elder Tai, head of our science council." The older HFY looked at June with curious eyes. "We thank you for saving Neri," she said in perfect human language. "Your actions have changed many minds among our people." June bowed his head respectfully. "I only did what anyone would do." Elder Tai smiled slightly. "Not anyone. That is what we are learning." Neri took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Elder Tai, honored council members, I have made a decision." The elder looked at her with raised eyebrows. "I wish to stay," Neri announced. "Not forever, but for now. The Alliance has offered me a position as the first HFY ambassador to humanity." June's heart skipped a beat. What was she saying? Elder Tai looked surprised, then thoughtful. "This is unexpected. But after hearing your story, perhaps not unwise. Our peoples have avoided each other too long," Neri continued. "I have seen the good in humans. I can help build understanding between us." The elder looked at June, then back at Neri. Her eyes seemed to see more than was visible. "Very well," she said finally. "The council will approve this mission. You will be our voice here." Neri's face broke into a beautiful smile. She turned to June, who still couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're staying?" he asked. "For now," she said. "The Alliance also offered you a position as my human liaison officer, if you want it." June felt a smile spread across his face. "I want it." Later, as the HFY ship departed with promises to return soon, June and Neri stood at the window watching it go. "This won't be easy," June said. "Our worlds are very different." Neri took his hand. Her blue fingers intertwined with his tan ones. "The best journeys never are," she said. Together, they looked out at the stars, not as a human and an alien, but as two beings who had found something precious across the vastness of space, each other.